Welcome to the Queen City Music Podcast, the podcast devoted to the local music scene in Charlotte, North Carolina. Now, here's your host, Matthew Ablin.
Hello and welcome to episode 39 of the Queen City Music Podcast and the last episode of 2020. It's hard to believe 3 years have passed since I started the podcast, but looking back, I've had a great time getting to meet and speak with some wonderful people who make up the Charlotte music scene. For this final episode of 2020, I'm speaking with an artist of a different kind, photographer Hannah Lee. Hannah's a staple on the Charlotte music scene who photographs live concerts, band promos, and even does tour photography. But I'll let her tell you all about it. Hannah Lee, thank you very much for coming on the podcast today. It's so fun to talk to you.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited.
So Hannah, I always start off the podcast with the same question. Are you originally from the Charlotte area?
I am originally from Charlotte. I was born here. I was raised. I was raised on the east side by East Lamar, when it used to be East Lamar. And my parents, when they were living, we've lived over there for probably 30-some years. So, yeah.
Well, now I can officially say I can use two hands to count the original Charlotteans that I've met, because there's not a lot of them left at all.
I don't think, that are here. Yeah, you're correct.
Oh, my goodness. All right, so tell me, you're a photographer. Can you fill us in on your photography background? How did you get involved in it, and what's going on with you with that?
I started when I was probably in my 20s at clubs just with film cameras back in the day. Some of these younger people don't know what all that's about. Old school stuff. So
there you go.
Yeah, I was back in the club seeing bands, taking pictures of them with film, 800 speed film, because it was dark in there, so you got to make sure you don't try to blur anything. And that's basically how I started. I just went from there, and that's how I started, I guess, doing band photography. It was something I like, and I just like doing all around photography.
So when you got involved in photography, was there a certain thing that you liked doing? Specifically, was there certain types of things that you like to photograph? Like some people like to do landscapes, they like to do people. I don't know how it works, with photography, all the technical names. But what are the types of things that you liked to photograph when you first got involved with it?
I like to do everything because I just liked it. But when I was in my 20s, I was out clubbing. And that's what I did, is take pictures of all these bands coming through. There were clubs like 4808. I don't know if anybody remembers that. 13. I'm going way, way back.
Way before I got here. I didn't get here until 2006. So.
Oh, this was way, way back. A club called Jeremiah's, which I know my old school friends remember that club. There's also a club called Rockies.
Okay.
And there's another one, 4808. And there was another one that did goth music and stuff, but I can't remember the name of them. But yeah, I would just go there and, like I said, just take pictures because I like music, and that's what I liked to do. And I like to take pictures, so why not take pictures and music, something that you love to do, and put them together.
So I came across you via Facebook. I guess you had photographed some bands, and the musicians had posted the pictures that you had done. So you've been photographing from back in the day, from what you're saying. Is photographing bands currently, is that a mainstay for you, or do you do other things as well?
I also do other things. I do weddings. I do families. I do modeling. I even do pets. I do a little everything. I do a lot of landscaping. Yeah, I do a little bit of everything. I'm kind of like, what do you call it, a rounded photographer, but everybody sees me as a concert photographer because I'm out every night at every club when every club's open with every band. I've worked really, really hard to get where I've got with these bands for the last, 7 or 8 years. There's been nights where I've been out every single night shooting bands. Yeah. So
are you primarily doing live concert shots, or are you do studio work where you're doing band promo shots?
Doing a little bit of everything, depending on what the band wants. Bands contact me to come out and do live coverage. bands contact me to do their promo shots. Promo shots are where bands, it's like going on a job interview. They have to sell themselves to the company to like get a record deal, to go out and play certain clubs. They want to hear your sound. They want to see a professional high resolution picture. So that's kind of what the promos are giving the bands.
Okay.
Yeah.
How does doing a studio shot or a promo shot, how does that differ from a live setting for you? Is there different equipment that you're going to use for the photo, for the different cameras, different lenses? Do you have to have freedom to move around the stage for live shots where you don't need that for a studio setting? How does that differ?
Studio setting is I say fixed lighting. I have several different light stands. They're fixed. I have control of the light. I have meters where I meter, so I know there's no guessing what to put your camera on. And you basically, it's a controlled atmosphere, controlled lighting. Live coverage, there is no control. You literally have to, there's none. You know, those red lights will kill you every single time. So, yeah, reds, if a light guy knows how to run lights, red will work. If not, everybody, like, the front wash has to be white. And then he can do whatever he wants to do on side fill and the back line. But everything has to be white on front. If everything's not white on front, it makes, and bands don't even understand that. It makes for horrible pictures. And some bands like, oh, we don't care what we look like. But your pictures are your first impressions, and you don't want blurred pictures if everybody understands how it works to make you look good.
Right. Visuals. We're in a visually oriented society currently, where it's not just sound. You can almost sell something visually rather than you could sell a band visually than just through their music today. So, so when you're shooting in a studio setting and you're doing like a promo shot, how awkward are the bands at times? Because I've done a couple of promo shots, and I know the first time I did promo pictures, it was awkward. I hate to sound awful, but I left it up to the photographer, to tell me what to do. And when I got the shots back, I thought, these are just awful. And it wasn't the photographer's fault. I was just kind of, I didn't know what to do. And then the second time I went in to redo the photos, I kind of had a better idea. I had looked at other people's promos. I knew how to dress a little bit better and all that. So how does that work for you? Do you find yourself guiding the artists, the musicians that you are photographing, or do they come in with a perspective of what they are already looking for?
Oh, it's a little bit of both. There's a lot of guiding going on. Whenever I do promo shots with bands, I always tell them, and it's like anything, do your research. Tell me what you want. Send me pictures what you want, because I want you to leave my studio feeling great about your pictures and getting what you want. As a matter of fact, when I take pictures when I'm in the studio, you stand, however I have you posed, and I take 2 or 3 shots of the same picture, and I show them to you because I want you to be happy with them. If you don't like your facial expressions, now's the time to speak up and be like, hey, I don't like my facial expressions. Let me try something different. So, it's just a matter of the bands need to do their research. Some people don't. They come in, they don't know what they're looking for. So I just, I move them around, try to pose them the best that I can pose them, show them the shots, and they can look at them and say, hey, I like it, or hey, I don't like the way I'm standing. Let me switch up with this guy. Let me move here. Or someone be like, oh, this gray shirt's throwing off all this black. I need to put on you know what I'm saying? Because me telling them, and some people don't want to listen. They listen, but they don't want to listen. You know what I mean? So they always have a chance to see their pictures, like I said, because I always show them. They always have a chance to change whatever they feel they need to change that does not look good. Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Do you do more photography with the bands in studio, or do you go out to locations to do like shots? Like the famous shot is like, people on the railroad tracks, that was the current in. I think I've done a couple of those to myself, but do you have different locations that you like to head to?
I do have different locations depending on what the band wants. That's why I always tell them, do your research. Let me know what you want so I can get a feel and I can start looking for if you want studio, if you want location shots. But depending on what you send me, you know what I mean, and how, if I've seen the band play and I have a feel for them, I kind of know, you know, what they're looking for. So I do have different locations. I've traveled all over. I've traveled to Florida to take pictures of bands. Matter of fact, I'm leaving this weekend and New Year's Eve to go do some promo shots for bands and live coverage for them.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
What, so do you stay normally in the Charlotte area? Do you stay regionally, or do you go wider? Do you have do you go cross country for promo work?
I have not been across country for promos. I know a lot of people that live all over the place. And it's like, I let them know, hey, I'm on my way coming there, unless we've already made plans. You know what I mean? I give people opportunities. Hey, I'm going to be in Florida this week. You need band promos. Hit me up, let me know, and we'll schedule it while I'm going that way.
That's awesome. So when you're doing photography work, we've talked about live shows, promo work. Have you been hired by any bands to go on tour with them for, you know, a week or two, or maybe even a more extended time, and take photos and document the tour that the group has done?
I had some bands, I can't say names, that was coming up for this year, but because of the virus, that kind of kicked it to a curb. I had two bands I was planning on going tour with. Last year, I think it was last year, Testarossa, when the guys, I love those guys. I went on tour with them. We went all down in Florida. We had just a great time. And tour photography is like promo photography, live coach photography, all mixed in together, because when you're on tour, you're with the band, you're on their bus, you're getting candid shots behind the scenes, you're doing promos of them in different locations, you're doing live shots at them at every venue they play. So it's a whole different thing.
So it's not, you're not booking a period of time. You need to be available 24-hour with a camera in hand, clicking shots.
Yeah, because you've got to catch those candid shots, the guys goofing off, you know what I mean? Just shots that you're not going to get every day, that people don't get to see. Yeah.
Hannah, do you have a specific type of music genre that you tend to do photography more? Do you do rappers and rockers and country artists? Do you have a not so much of a preference, but do you photograph everybody?
I do photograph everybody because that's my love, is photography. I love music, but my love is photography, and it doesn't matter what you play or anything. It's photography. I've shot, and I'm just going to throw out names of like people I've shot, I guess big names, Lil Wayne. I've shot Snoop Dogg, Guns N' Roses, Pink. I've shot all kind of people. You know, and my love is 80s music. I've shot all the big 80s rock stars, Sebastian Bach from Skid Row, Slaughter, who else was Great White, a lot of people. So, yeah.
When you're photographing these bands and you say you photograph them, does that mean you got hired by their management to come shoot while they were in town? Does that mean you went to the concert yourself and you were given credentials? Yeah, you were given news credentials to be able to shoot that show. How does that work?
All right, so every concert I shoot, like held at the Fillmore, the Spectrum Center, the PNC, any huge place like that, it's like going to a job interview. I am with several magazines. Charlotte Rock Review is one of them. But you have to be with a magazine to get in because you are working. You can't just go and apply. You have to actually be working. So when you go to these, like the Spectrum Center in Charlotte and see Pink, Guns N' Roses, there's a process you have to go through. And there's an application that I have to fill out. And I have to meet all their standards. And there's been some times where, I've hated it, but they haven't picked me for whatever reason. They kind of, I don't know, pick bigger, higher name magazines or whatever. And sometimes, you know, to me, I feel like, man, that's not fair. My work's good. Why am not in there? But like I said, there's a whole process that you have to go through to even get to even photograph these bands. And people don't realize that. It's like applying for a job, and you have all these applicants out there, and you've got to stand out, and your work and other things have to stand out to these people before they will even think about you. Yeah.
So when you can do that application process, is that because you are associated with the magazines, or can freelancers get in there as well?
Freelancers there are no freelancers in any of that. You have to be with a newspaper, a magazine, some kind of publicity, because the bands don't want a freelancer. They want advertisement. It's all about them. You got to advertise very hard. It's very frustrating. Some of these bands make you even though you have to sign contracts, then if they even think about you, Guns N' Roses, then they send you another contract back, and you have to sign this contract. You have to sign, kind of giving up all your rights to all your photos, and they're only allowed to be like on one publication, Charlotte Rock Review. And when I do a lot for Charlotte Rock Review, and they're only allowed to be published a one-time publish for that Charlotte Rock Review, and that's it. They're not allowed to be used anywhere else but that one time.
I know, just being a musician and a rock music fan from the time I was a kid, I remember reading about like Led Zeppelin and how they were really tight-fisted, and you would only see, I shouldn't say you would only see, but you would see the same images, the same pictures over and over. And when you come across quote unquote new Led Zeppelin pictures, you're like, I've never seen that picture before. Cause I guess that's because the band only says we're only releasing these ones that we approve.
Right. Oh yeah. I've had times where I have to take the shots. I forget who it was. I had 24 hours to get my pictures back to them for them to approve them, and they would go approve them and say, okay, you can use this one, you can't use this one. You can use this one, you can't use this one. Oh, yeah.
Right.
And that's rough, because when you're editing pictures, it's not easy like people think it is. It's not snap, take a picture, and you upload it to Facebook. It doesn't work that way. Yeah.
You mean not everybody's walking around with a camera taking pictures?
Yes.
Oh my goodness. So do you have any interesting stories that you could share about some of the musicians that you photographed? You don't have to mention any names. You could just mention the situation. Maybe they weren't the nicest people to deal with, or they were drama queens or something.
I don't know. I've thought about that question. All the bands that I deal with are good. There is a video out. I will say there is a video out, and I'm going to say names, from the band Jackal. That was done in Indiana. Jesse James Dupree is the lead singer, and he is a handful, let me say that. And he's always goofing off and being funny. And there's a video where I was there taking pictures one night, and I was standing on the stage trying to get the pictures, and he was like, hey, photographer girl, come over here. And I was like, no.
Photographer girl.
There is actual video of this. As a matter of fact, it's on my personal page. And I have shared it where people in Indiana were filming all this going on. It was crazy and it was hilarious. So,
oh my God.
He says, hey, camera girl, get over here. And I'm like, no, I'm not coming up on that stage. He's like, get up here. Get up on the drum riser. He's like, turn around. Take my picture. Oh, it was hilarious. It was hilarious. And then, I think that same night he was feeling some kind of way about me, because then he's like, okay, get off the stage. This is my stage, because when Jesse James Dupree is on the stage, it is his stage. Okay. So,
oh my goodness.
Well, I would gather most of the time as a photographer, you try to be unobtrusive to the band while they're on stage, do whatever you need to do to get that right shot. But it's probably those rare moments when you are asked to become part of the show for the night.
It really is. As a matter of fact, it's like a good moment when a band, at the end of the night, when bands get together and the crowd's out there and you're taking the group shot of them.
Yeah.
That's a really good moment, because all the fans are in the picture and you're getting that. I call it the money shot, because it is the money shot. That's the best shot basically of the whole night. You're getting all the band with all their fans behind them, and everybody wants to see that.
Right. Yeah. And if it's not that great of a crowd that night, then maybe you don't want to see the 5 people in the audience.
It's still good. Either way.
So, Hannah, I'm real curious. It's been a running theme for the last several months on the show about COVID. How has COVID impacted you as a photographer with live music getting, cut down essentially? How is it? What's been the impact on the photography business for you?
Matter of fact, I guess you can say it's good or bad. This year I was going to be slammed with work. I would probably be out 7 nights a week. Now I'm only out once a month maybe. Me personally, I have to be, I guess, very cautious around people because I always, when I leave my house, it's just me, put my mask on. I go to these clubs, and to each his own. People aren't wearing masks, you know what I mean? So I've got to try to be up close to you to do my job, and it's very hard. But all in all, that's just what I have to do. Like I said, I've had very few shows, but I've had a few. Like I said, I've going to Florida in a couple of weeks to do 2 shows there. But it's different. The crowds have been cut back. Not as many people are coming out. We're all still having fun. We're all still there for the same reason. But it's like I said, it's caused a lot of problems for everybody because I was supposed to be on tour this year with 2 separate bands, and like I said, I had a lot of gigs, but a lot of festivals that were going to go through. You know what I mean? And all that has affected everyone.
Yeah, I don't think when you look at it and you just to give a cursory look of how COVID has impacted, you think it's just impacted the musicians. But when you take that wider scope, it's the bands, the venues, the people that the bands employ, everybody from roadies to sound people to light people to photographers like yourselves to the venues. And then you go out to the venues and you're like, oh, well, they don't need as much beer. So that impacts the beer industry and the food industry and it just trickles down to everybody, which is kind of scary if you think about it.
Yeah, because even the bands that are playing now,
right,
they're probably, I guess, want to say play for free because not everybody can go, or there's a cap on the room. So either way, you're losing money because all your fans can't come in, or either if you are able to go into a club, the ticket prices have to go up to compensate to help pay the band for the less people.
Yeah, absolutely. Hannah, we didn't talk about it much, but have you photographed a lot of local area bands? Or do you primarily just do folks from different areas? I mean, who are some of the local artists that you've worked with?
Oh my gosh, I think I've photographed every local band that lives in Charlotte 20 times. I've done Michael Tracy, I've done Jake Hollenvane, Shun the Raven, I've done Something Clever, Falling Through April. Oh, let me think. Beyond the Fade, Killicoy. I've done Blackwater Drowning. I've done everybody. Literally, probably 20 times at least for each Charlotte band ever.
Wow, that's good. That's really nice that you're ingrained in the community and you know some of the artists. You probably are. It's nice to know that you're probably the go-to photographer for rock shows and artists in town. That's awesome. So we talked about it before we started recording, but we talked about you're mostly going out to do a lot of shows, and but you have a studio called Level 1 Studio. Can you fill us in about Level 1 Studio?
I do have a studio called Level 1 Studio. It is not a storefront. It is just a studio me and my husband built. And it does what I need it to do. Like I said earlier, it's just for kind of promos. We do modeling pictures. We do baby pictures in there. Yeah. So it's interesting because when we talked about it earlier, I was telling you about how, I do lessons and things like that at home. And I think maybe even during COVID, you and I probably did this way before COVID impacted us, but not a lot of folks are finding maybe even in big businesses, they might not need large
brick and mortar stores for things. A lot of folks, if they have a home studio or things that they can do, operate their business from home, it's much more cost effective than having a brick face place where you don't know what's going to happen day to day, month to month, or week to week.
That's true. And my look on things is, I am a professional. I don't have to have a big, huge studio to do good quality work.
Hey, Hannah, as we start to wrap things up, is there someplace, a website, where can you fill us in where we can find some of your work and check out what you do if people want to get in contact with you?
We can do Facebook, Instagram. Facebook is Hannah Lee Photography 1, the number 1. Instagram is Hannah Lee Photo 1. For Level 1 Studio, it's Facebook Level 1 Studio, Instagram Level 1 Studio.
Awesome. And remember, if you're listening, Hannah does not just do bands and artists. You can hire her for weddings, for family portraits, all that kind of stuff too.
Little bit of everything, well-rounded, yes.
Well, Hannah, thank you so much for coming on the podcast and filling us in about all the photography work that you do, and we look forward to talking with you soon.
Thank you so much for having me. Yeah, I enjoyed it.
All right. Have a great day.
Thank you.
And that will bring episode 39 of the Queen City Music Podcast to a close. If you have an idea for an episode, would like to be a guest on the QCMP, reach out to me at qcmusicpodcast@gmail.com. Also, please check out our local partner, Records on the Wall, at rexonthewall.com. Until next month, have a happy new year, be well, and stay safe.